In this video, I'm going to show you how to solve linear equations, which is generally what you would start with in any college algebra class. So I'm going to start with solving linear equations that require two steps, and then I'll do some multi-step linear equations, and then I'll do some linear equations that have fractions. So let's go ahead and get started here. So the first one I'm going to start with is pretty simple. You have 2x plus 7 equals 9, and your objective is to isolate the x so that you can get a solution. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. So my first step, I'm going to take 7 away from both sides, and then that will allow these 7's here to cancel, and then subtracting 7 away from the right side, I get 2. And then on the next step, I'll have 2x equal 2, so now to isolate the x, I'm going to divide the 2x by 2, and also divide the 2 by 2, and then 2 over 2 is 1, so that'll just give me 1x, which is x, and over here 2 over 2 is 1, so for that one, x is 1. Now in this next one, to isolate the a, the first thing I'm going to do is add 5 to both sides. So if I add 5 to this side, that'll just cancel the minus 5. And then if you take negative 25 plus 5, that's going to give me negative 20. So I'll have 5a equals negative 20. Then I have to isolate the a, I need to divide both sides by 5. So if I divide 5a by 5, then the 5's will cancel, and I'll just get a. And if I divide negative 20 by 5, that'll give me negative 4. Okay, here's another one. This one, I have 7 minus 2m equals negative 11. So what I want to do is get rid of the 7. And so I'm going to subtract 7 from both sides. And then the 7's cancel. And then I'll still have negative 2m over here on this side. And when I subtracted 7 from the right-hand side, negative 11 minus 7 is negative 18. And then the next thing I've got to do to isolate the m is divide both sides by negative 2, so that way the negative 2 cancels with the negative 2 and just gives me 1m. And then when I divide negative 18 by negative 2, I get positive 9. So there my solution is positive 9. Now I also did some here with some decimals and fractions. So here I'm solving this linear equation. I've got minus x over 7 minus 0.5 equals negative 3.5. So the first thing I want to do is I want to add 0.5 to both sides. So that way I'll cancel the negative 0.5 that's on the left. So if I add 0.5 to this side, the negative 0.5 and the 0.5 cancels. And then on the right hand side, I'll have negative 3.5 plus 0.5. Well, that's going to be negative 3, so that'll give me negative 3 on the right. And so now I'll have negative x over 7 equals negative 3. Well, to get rid of the fraction here, I need to multiply both sides by 7, but since this is already a negative right here, I'm going to want the answer to be positive, right? So I'm going to actually multiply by negative 7. So if I multiply by negative 7 on the left, I also must multiply by negative 7 on the right. And so when I multiply this by negative 7, it cancels with the negative 7 in the denominator, and I just get x. And then over here, negative 7 times negative 3 is simply 21. Okay, so on this next equation, I have negative 8k plus 11.5 equals 51.5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 11.5 from both sides so that it would cancel the 11.5 over here, and then 51.5 minus 11.5 over here on the right hand side here would be 40. So I'll get 40 on the right hand side, and then on the left hand side I just get the negative 8k, and then of course we divide both sides by negative 8, and when you divide by negative 8 over negative 8 is just 1, so you get 1k, and then 40 divided by negative 8 is negative 5, so your answer is k equal to negative 5. And then the last one I'm going to do on this video is I'm going to subtract 3 from both sides, and when I take 3 away from both sides, I'll actually get the 3 and the minus 3 would cancel, and then when I subtract 3 from the right hand side, I get negative 8 minus 3, which is negative 11. And then I have negative t over 5 equals negative 11, and then to get rid of the 5 I have to multiply by 5, but to change this to positive I have to multiply by negative 5. And so I'm going to multiply the right hand side by negative 5, and that's going to cancel the negative 5 with the negative 5 that's in the denominator here, and I'll just get t on the left. And then on the right I had to multiply negative 5 times negative 11, and that gives me positive 55. Now with practice on these, you can actually do some of these steps in your head, but I would suggest that you do all of the steps that I'm doing to begin with, and don't try to do any shortcuts until you feel very confident on solving these problems. So the next video I'm going to do problems that require several more steps than these do, but they're still going to be linear equations, but they're just going to be more complicated. So look for those on the next video.